Hi, thank you everyone. Welcome to this online event on West Papua Reject Special Autonomy and Free Viktor Yemo. My name is Pelagio Doutel. I'm a campaigner at TAPOL. I will be speaking on behalf of TAPOL and facilitate today's event. The purpose of this event is to provide our international audience the perspectives from grassroots organizations, former West Papuan political prisoners, and international organizations on why rejecting the special autonomy law is the case, and our joint call for the release of Viktor Yemo, who is facing insurmountable legal charges for his peaceful political expression. So this event is co-hosted by TAPOL and Petisi Rakyat Papua, or PRP. On behalf of the co-hosts, I would like to welcome all speakers and acknowledge the challenges that some of you experience in order to be here today, especially the speakers from West Papua who are currently experiencing internet blackouts. We have exactly 1 hour and 15 minutes to make our statements. Each speaker will be giving specific time limit, and I advise all of us to keep our speeches within this allocated time. There will be 2 short video clips, one about Viktor Yeimo and another one, a message from Filep Karma, and will be played the message from Filep Karma towards the end. For our audience who are here with us today, I just want to inform you that we will not have a Q&A session during the event, but you are welcome to leave your comments or questions via the chat box or the PRP and TAPOL Facebook pages. You can also leave the questions and comments on our YouTube channel as well. We will make sure we'll go through them and provide some answers. I will begin by presenting TAPOL's view on the special autonomy law, or OTSUS. Without going too much into detail about what the law is, I would like to just start with by saying that the law was created in 2001, and the funding under the law will end in 2021. In order to continue this funding, the law needs to be revised. An earlier amendment of the law in 2008 states that the changes to the law will be proposed by the Papuan provincial legislatures and the Papuan People's Council, or MRP, the 2 institutions that were created under the special autonomy law. Both institutions have made clear that there needs to be a thorough review of the law before a revision takes place. However, the current growing protests, on the other hand, demanding that the law has failed in its objectives and should be rejected altogether. I would like to emphasize the latter based on the following 2 points. First of all, the law failed in its objectives of improving the marginalization of West Papuans. And second, it has failed in its objectives in protecting the West Papuan culture. There are 3 main reasons. The first reason is that the law has been partially implemented or ignored completely during the last 20 years. For example, the establishment of political parties in West Papua or the establishment of Truth and Reconciliation Commission have been ignored completely, while freedom of expression in West Papua is subjected to highly repressive actions by the security forces. Second, the institutions that were created through the law are seen by ordinary West Papuans as not representative, and are seen as being interfered by the central government. This put their legitimacy in question, as they have not been able to do their mandates. In 2020, for example, in November 2020, the security forces arrested 54 members of MRP and charged them with treason when they were holding a public hearing and consultation in Merauke regarding the Otsus revision. Third, ordinary West Papuans think that the special autonomy law is not working for them. And there have been several street protests in 2005, 2011, 2019, and the current protests. Instead of revising the law, the special autonomy law based on these grievances, the government's response to protests has always been to repress the protests and leading to more violations and arrests of political prisoners. Between October 2020 and April 2021 alone, there were approximately 154 political prisoners. While many of these people arrested were released after questioning, some are remained in custody and are facing trials for various charges. I would like to add that Viktor Yemo is one of the latest detainees, and that's as of a few weeks ago. But we will hear more about Viktor's case later today. And today is also Viktor's birthday, so I would like to wish him a good health, even though he has to celebrate his birthday this year in prison. In response to protests, the government also launches development projects. However, the outcome of these development projects has not improved the conditions of the West Papuans. The special autonomy funds often enriches the security forces whose power and influence has increased in remote areas of West Papua. The policy of creating new provinces in remote areas through pemekaran is also increases the power of the security forces and political elites. Pemekaran allows for special autonomy funds to be distributed in these new provinces. It is for these reasons that TAPOL would like to extend our solidarity and support for the Petisi Rakyat Papua, PRP, and join other 110 organizations who have already done so. I think I will leave my statement as that. I will now give the opportunity to Sam Awom from Petisi Rakyat Papua, who will talk about PRP and the movement itself. Bapak Sam, silakan ya, waktu 15 menit dengan interpretasi. Thank you. Masih mute, tolong di... Ya, ya.
Oke, terima kasih. Saya Sam Awom, juru bicara Petisi Rakyat Papua. Terima kasih buat TAPOL yang sudah menyiapkan ruang untuk bagaimana kita menyatakan sikap Petisi Rakyat Papua. Yang pertama, kita dari Petisi Rakyat Papua yang sudah melakukan konsolidasi dari bulan Mei hingga Juni tahun 2020 hingga hari ini, per April tahun 2021 itu jumlah petisi rakyat Papua yang menandatangani secara langsung adalah 714.066 orang yang secara langsung terlibat di seluruh teritori West Papua, juga di luar Papua Indonesia, juga di internasional. Jadi totalnya ada 714.066 suara.
Hi everyone, I am Sam Awom from the Papuan People's Petition. Thank you, TAPOL, to provide to host this event and to provide space for the PRP to make our statement. We from the consolidated our movement since the May 2020 until now, and per April 2021, the total number of petition that's been signed by the people of West Papua is 714,066 signatures that were collected across West Papua and also from West Papuans internationally from West Papuan people. Lanjut.
Ya, landasan sejarah pembentukan PRP itu berawal dari kita tahu pendudukan secara ilegal yang cacat hukum itu PPRA di tahun 69, sejarah politik yang seluruh dunia tahu tentang proses itu, juga konsolidasi atau perlawanan rakyat dari tahun 1970, hingga 80-an, 90-an, hingga tahun 98, kemudian reformasi dan otonomi khusus itu mulai dimunculkan ketika ada Kongres Rakyat Papua II yang memutuskan untuk bagaimana memerdekakan Papua, sikap politik waktu itu. Sehingga itu menjadi landasan yang menjadi acuan penting dalam perumusan petisi rakyat Papua yang hari ini ada tergabung 110 organisasi saat ini.
So the foundation of the PRP is the illegal occupation since the 1969 that's been known worldwide, politically speaking. That the consolidation of the resistance by the people throughout the Reformation era and the special autonomy era, and then to the Congress of the people of the Second Congress of Papuan people that resoluted that we want to be free, and and up to now that the PRP has there are 110 organizations that has joined the PRP. Lanjut.
Iya, jadi ketika gelombang rakyat itu kuat di Kongres Rakyat Papua II, pemerintah Indonesia memaksakan otonomi khusus, Undang-Undang Nomor 21 tahun 2001. Disitulah rakyat menolak. Jadi kalau perlawanan rakyat menolak otonomi khusus sudah dari tahun 2000, 2001, 2005 yang gelombang perlawanan yang besar ya, 2011 itu landasan rakyat menolak otonomi khusus. Karena bagi rakyat Papua bahwa yang diinginkan bukan otonomi khusus tapi hak menentukan nasib sendiri sebagai satu bangsa yang merdeka.
When the wave, the strong wave emerged from the Second Congress of Papuan people, then that also, and afterwards that the special autonomy was forced to the people of West Papua. So that's why we reject the special autonomy. That throughout 2000 and 2001, when the law on special autonomy was enacted, for the people of West Papua, that's not real. That West Papuan people want self-determination as a free nation.
Landasan itulah yang membuat petisi rakyat Papua hari ini mengkonsolidasikan kekuatan rakyat di seluruh pelosok tanah Papua yang menegaskan bahwa selama 20 tahun otonomi khusus adalah produk pemaksaan dan gagal. Secara real di lapangan bahwa sektor-sektor ekonomi, pendidikan, kesehatan itu sangat tidak bermanfaat bagi rakyat Papua. Sehingga petisi rakyat Papua menyatakan bahwa pemberlakuan otonomi khusus di tanah Papua bukanlah suatu realisasi pemenuhan hak penentuan nasib sendiri bagi bangsa Papua.
So the foundation of why the PRP is consolidating people across West Papua is because we see that the special autonomy is a failure, and that for example, that the education sector and also the health sector, it's all failure, and we see that the special autonomy is not realizing the right to self-determination of West Papuan people.
Juga yang kedua, kita menyatakan dengan tegas bahwa 20 tahun otonomi khusus tidak berhasil memihak, memberdayakan, dan memproteksi tanah dan manusia orang Papua. Otonomi khusus hanya menjadi rekayasa politik Jakarta untuk menghalau tuntutan perjuangan damai bangsa Papua untuk menentukan nasibnya sendiri.
The 20 years of special autonomy has failed to empower the people of West Papua. It has become political illusionment to prevent the struggle of West Papuan people to be free.
Yang ketiga, bahwa rakyat Papua ingin penyelesaian damai, demokratis, dan tuntas berdasarkan prinsip-prinsip internasional yang bermartabat. Rakyat Papua telah menolak dengan tegas segala bentuk kompromi sepihak yang mengatasnamakan rakyat Papua dan agenda-agenda pembahasan yang berujung keputusan tanpa melibatkan rakyat Papua selaku subjek dan objek persoalan rakyat di tanah Papua.
And we demand a peaceful resolution, and we demand a peaceful, democratic, thorough resolution to this conflict. We reject any arbitrary resolution that force a solution to us. That we do not want to be objected. We want to be the subject in this conflict, in resolving this conflict. Lanjut. Dengan
landasan itu, maka petisi rakyat Papua hari ini menyerukan kepada seluruh kepentingan siapapun di tanah Papua bahwa kita petisi rakyat Papua akan melakukan konsultasi menuju musyawarah rakyat Papua agar salah satu forum yang legal oleh rakyat Papua itu sendiri, dan forum itu membahas, memutuskan status politik Papua dan juga mengambil jalan terbaik bagi masa depan. Oleh karena itu kami mengajak semua pihak baik di Papua, Indonesia, juga di internasional untuk bersama-sama melakukan kerja bersama, konsultasi bersama untuk menyerukan perdamaian yang baik di tanah Papua melalui mekanisme-mekanisme yang sudah diatur di internasional, yaitu berunding dengan bangsa dan rakyat Papua, Jakarta.
And so based on that, the PRP is calling out to people that is telling, letting the people know that PRP is doing consolidation towards the Papuan People's Assembly, and in that assembly we will decide our political status and also to determine the best way for the future of West Papuan people, and to also achieve long-lasting, peaceful, peace in accordance to international ways. Yeah. Lanjut.
Oke, Vero, itu mungkin begitu ya, sudah poin-poin. Ada beberapa tambahan, kami hari ini melakukan aksi di beberapa titik, terutama di Kota Manokwari. Hari ini terjadi penangkapan, dan rakyat hari ini melakukan seruan-seruan tentang petisi rakyat Papua, tapi juga pembebasan kepada juru bicara internasional, Viktor, Yemo.
There are simultaneous protests in several places today, and especially in Manokwari. that where I am, Sam Awom, that there were multiple arrests. We call for the demands of so-called to free Viktor Yemo, our international spokesperson.
Terima kasih.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will play a video about Viktor Yemo. So I will give the opportunity to the technical people to play that. There's no audio.
Why there's no audio?
Yeah. Many apologies for the technical difficulties there, but it's a video. In the video, you couldn't really hear it, but Viktor Yemo was heard speaking in front of the mass protest, which was the base of his arrest in recent arrest. But there will be more about Viktor Yemo in a little bit. So I will now perhaps pass it on to Alexander Nekenem from the KNPB, the Komite Nasional Papua Barat. Is
Kawan Alex
here?
bisa
Yeah.
mulai? Kawan Alex.
Coba. Halo Alex, are you ada di sini?
Kawan Alex,
Suaranya nggak kedengar.
kawan Alex bisa tolong nyalakan video dan mic. Ini giliran kawan Alex, giliran KNPB. Ya kawan, sekarang tolong nyalakan video kah? Halo, kawan Alex. Atau coba tes bicara? Or maybe I should go first and then Alex.
Yeah, we have okay, if that's okay. Yeah, that sounds fine. Just for us to keep in time. And then we'll get back to Alex after you, Fer.
Okay. Oh, itu dia.
Oh, itu dia. Ya.
Coba tes bicara, kawan Alex.
Suaranya nggak kedengaran, Kak.
Coba tes. Atau mungkin kawan Alex bisa tolong keluar lalu masuk lagi.
Yeah, this is part of the internet problem that we talked about earlier. Kawan Alex, tolong keluar dan masuk kembali ya. Untuk sementara, in the meantime, while we wait for Alex to come back, we can start with Vero's statement. Vero, please.
Yep. Okay. Okay, hang on.
You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Veronica Koman, and for today I'll be speaking as Viktor Yemo's counsel. And before I start, I'll be speaking about his legal case today. And before I start, I would like to congratulate Viktor for his birthday. Happy birthday, even though in such a horrible place in isolation. Viktor Yemo, he is the international spokesperson of the West Papua National Committee, or KNPB, that Alexander Nekenem was he was supposed to be representing the KNPB. He's also the spokesperson of the PRP, the Papuan People's Petition that Sam Awom, our speaker earlier, was talking about, which consists of 110 groups in rejecting the extension of special autonomy. So he was arrested on 9th of May 2021, and throughout his he was interrogated twice on the evening of 9th of May, the night of his arrest, and then he was supposed to be and then he was prevented from lawyers being by his side at the time of the interrogation. So under Indonesian criminal procedure law, if you are charged with treason, then lawyers may be, it's allowed to not have lawyers to sit right by your side during the interrogation. So that was the understanding of the lawyers at that time. But turns out after the interrogation finished, Viktor Yemo was accused of 11 charges, including non-treason charges. So this is in breach of the criminal procedure law. And knowing that, before I Viktor Yemo was actually already in national police or wanted list for his role in the West Papua 2019 West Papua uprising. He was under constant run throughout the uprising because he was targeted, because during internet shutdown, he was the only witness on the ground that was interviewed by many international media. So he was already targeted. And then because it's important, it's vital to keep having the West Papuan's voice, that I mean, to be involved in such manner on the ground, that he was briefly exiled in the PNG, and then after he returned months later, he was arrested the 9th of May. So that's the story. Sorry, I should have talked about that earlier. And so the interrogation was supposed to be continued the following day on the 10th of May, but he was sick. So it was postponed until the next day, the 11th. So during the second interrogation, knowing that the lawyers now know that he was also facing non-treason charges, demanded that they must be Viktor Yemo must have access to lawyers during interrogation, but it was prevented. So again, Viktor Yemo's right to be accompanied by a lawyer was violated again. And until now, there's no lawyers, and family members cannot visit him. Not at all. There was actually twice visit by West Papuan politicians, but it's just less than half an hour each on Monday, the following Monday of his arrest, and that's it. No family members and no lawyers can access him anymore. And he was given, from that brief meeting with the politicians, we knew that given inedible rice with chili only, and this is a form of ill treatment that could potentially amount to torture, because Viktor Yemo has acute stomach ulcer that I think that I suspect that the police might know this, and that's why it's treating Viktor. Viktor, he had been arrested twice before, and he was subjected to torture back then. So this is would not be surprising. And
you have 1 minute, yeah?
Yes, thank you. Yep. So Viktor, we believe that the lawyers, we believe that Viktor is targeted not only because of his role during the uprising, but also because he's vital in voicing what's happening on the ground in West Papua to international community, especially given his role now as the international spokesperson of the PRP, that the spatial autonomy law is supposed to be run out this year, that it's vital of the such voice is really vital now, I mean, this year. And then that's one way to stifle the voice of West Papuan people. Thank you.
Thanks, Vero. I feel that clarifies the video a little bit as well. Can we please try Alexander Nekenem again? Alex, are you there?
Kawan Alex, bisa tolong sekarang coba nyalakan suara dan video? Kawan Alex.
Okay, it seems that we cannot.
Maybe we should go next.
Yeah. Okay. We will try again later. Let's hear from Feni Suhuniap from the West Papuan Student Alliance AMP. Silakan Feni, ada 7 menit ya.
Ya baik, sebelumnya terima kasih banyak kepada TAPOL yang sudah menyediakan forum. Perkenalkan, saya Feni Suhuniap dari Aliansi Mahasiswa Papua. polemik otsus yang terjadi, otsus seperti kita ketahui bersama itu bukan murni keinginan dari rakyat Papua, tetapi itu keinginan Jakarta yang diberikan kepada rakyat Papua karena ada tuntutan untuk merdeka atau tuntutan untuk menentukan nasib sendiri. Orang asli Papua selama ini telah mengalami berbagai bentuk pelanggaran HAM sebelum adanya otsus maupun sesudah adanya otsus. Otsus sendiri menurut kami sudah gagal total. Padahal dalam otsus itu undang-undang yang mengatur tentang hak asasi manusia, hak-hak masyarakat adat, pemberdayaan perempuan, tapi dalam legitimasinya itu semua gagal. Artinya hak-hak asasi manusia banyak dirampas.
Special autonomy is not purely the wishes of West Papuan people, but it is dictated by Jakarta because West Papua wants independence. And there have been human rights violations before and after the special autonomy. And it means that the special autonomy is a total failure, that that in the law there's also regulating about the human rights and indigenous rights and also women's rights, but none of it succeeded. It means it is the special autonomy is a total failure. Lanjut.
Iya, pelanggaran-pelanggaran HAM yang terus terjadi di atas tanah Papua semenjak 61, kemudian adanya otsus, bahkan sampai hari ini pelanggaran HAM berat, bahkan operasi-operasi militer, semua telah membuktikan kalau otonomi khusus itu memang gagal. Selain itu, eksploitasi sumber daya alam yang terus masif terjadi di atas tanah Papua, yang dimana selain mengorbankan lingkungan alam Papua, itu juga menggeserkan atau mengorbankan masyarakat adat setempat. Padahal itu sudah hak-hak mereka diatur.
The human rights violations in West Papua since the 1961 and throughout until now, the military, there were military operations throughout. It means that it is a failure. Not to mention that the exploitation of the natural resources and our environment, it all sacrifices the indigenous people. Lanjut.
Ya, eksploitasi alam Papua yang berdampak kepada masyarakat adat juga. Jadi menurut kami, otsus itu tidak mampu untuk mensejahterakan rakyat Papua, menyelesaikan persoalan-persoalan yang ada di tanah Papua. Bahkan otsus justru menimbulkan berbagai macam konflik antara sesama orang Papua maupun sesama masyarakat sipil, orang Indonesia maupun orang Papua. Dengan itu kami menolak keberlangsungan otsus, dan itu pula disuarakan oleh banyak aktivis-aktivis Papua dan masyarakat Papua yang sadar dengan keberadaan otsus yang sudah gagal. Seperti Viktor Yeimo.
So special autonomy cannot make the West Papuan people wealthy, and it also has created conflict between among West Papuan people and also between West Papuan people and Indonesian people. That's why we now reject special autonomy. And this has been voiced by West Papuans who are aware that who understand that the special autonomy is failure, like such as by Viktor Yemo. Lanjut.
Iya, Viktor Yemo konsisten dalam menyuarakan tentang isu-isu Papua, bahkan tentang penolakan otsus yang sudah gagal. Dari situ negara melihat Viktor sebagai ancaman yang mampu menggalang persatuan nasional di antara rakyat Papua. Sehingga dengan segala bentuk cara negara membungkam dan menangkap Viktor. untuk membungkam gerakan rakyat Papua itu sendiri.
Victor Yemo, oh sorry, my voice suddenly. Victor Yemo is very consistent in voicing West Papuan issues, including in rejecting special autonomy. This has made him a threat by towards the government of Indonesia, because he is able to unify the Papuan people nationally. Therefore, this has become made Victor Yemo targeted. Lanjut.
Iya. Selain Viktor, 2 aktivis aliansi mahasiswa Papua juga yang konsisten dan masif menyuarakan tentang persoalan-persoalan yang terjadi di tanah Papua, persoalan demokrasi, pelanggaran HAM, dan lain sebagainya, juga ditangkap dengan tuntutan yang tidak berdasarkan hukum, yaitu Roland Levy dan Kelvin Molama dari Aliansi Mahasiswa Papua Komite Kota Jakarta. Komite Kota Jakarta. Penangkapan Roland Levy dan Kelvin Molama menurut kami ikut membungkam suara-suara mahasiswa, karena Kelvin dan Roland merupakan pelopor yang aktif di Aliansi Mahasiswa Papua untuk menyuarakan tentang kegagalannya Otsus dan menuntut hak menentukan nasib sendiri.
And besides Victor Yemo, there are also 2 AMP, the Papuan Students Alliance members that's been arrested. They are Roland Levy and Kevin Molama. They are vocal in voicing the democracy and human rights issues in West Papua. They are also vocal in voicing rejecting the special autonomy. Their arrest is arbitrary in order to stifle the freedom of speech of the Papuan students. And because both of them are a pioneer in our organization. Lanjut.
Dengan
Ini
penangkapan
Anda punya 1 menit lagi ya?
Ya. Dengan penangkapan Victor Yeimo, Roland Levy, dan Kelvin Molama membuktikan bahwa tidak ada ruang demokrasi di Indonesia, bahkan di Papua. Selain itu, ini juga membuktikan upaya-upaya negara untuk menutup kasus-kasus pelanggaran HAM yang terjadi di tanah Papua. Dan negara juga dengan ini melegitimasi adanya penjajahan di atas tanah West Papua.
Okay.
Ya, mungkin saya tambahkan sedikit. Tadi kami juga ikut aksi untuk membebaskan Victor Yeimo, TAPOL Papua, dan menolak Otsus. Setelah aksi, kami pulang ke asrama, kami diserang oleh ormas yang menamakan diri sebagai Pemuda Indonesia.
Okay. So this is the closing by her. Their arrest, Victor Yemo, Kevin Molama, and Roland Levy, it shows that there's no democracy in Indonesia and West Papua. It's a way to cover the human rights violation in West Papua, and it also legitimized the occupation and colonization in West Papua. And I also would like to let you know that after our protest today in demanding to free Victor Yemo and others, and also rejecting special autonomy, that we were attacked by a ultranationalist group that calls the youth, Indonesian youths. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Fanny. Let's try again, Alexander. Alexander, ada di sini? Coba buka suara dengan video. Ada. Oh iya, silahkan.
Ada.
Silahkan, Pak. Anda punya 7 menit ya, dengan interpretasi dari Vero.
Oke, baik. Ya. Ya, mungkin saya langsung saja. Itu tentang Victor Yeimo itu kami dari Komite Nasional Papua Barat, mungkin dalam hal ini saya mewakili kawan-kawan dari Komite Nasional Pusat di Jayapura. Berhubung karena hari ini semua jaringan internet semua tidak bisa akses untuk internet, maka hari ini saya mewakili kawan-kawan dari sana. Ya, untuk Viktor Yeimo sendiri, kami melihat bahwa dia dapat tangkap ini itu diakibatkan karena pertama petisi rakyat Papua, kemudian tolak otsus. Ini akibat dari itu. Tapi kemudian dia ditangkap atas nama kasus rasisme, sehingga kami melihat bahwa dari Komite Nasional Papua Barat kasus ini sebenarnya sudah ada. Kalau teman-teman KNPB, Ketua Umum sendiri sudah dapat tangkap, masuk ke tahanan, juga Ketua Komite Wilayah Timika, Stephen Itlai, kemudian 2 anggota KNPB di wilayah Manokwari yang juga masuk ditahan, dan proses hukum itu sudah berjalan. Namun kasus itu di 2019. Tapi sampai dengan 2001 ini kasus ini diangkat lagi, kemudian Viktor ditangkap atas nama kasus rasis, terus pasal penghasutan, makar, dan oke.
So I today represent
Ya, silakan, Fer.
I today represent the KNPB, West Papua National Committee from the central KNPB is in Jayapura, and there's internet cuts not allowing them to join us today. So that's why I am representing the organization today. We see that Viktor Yemo was arrested of his role in the PRP, and also because he is rejecting the special autonomy. He was arbitrarily detained based on the case of West Papua uprising. This case was concluded already that our head organization was prosecuted. Our head of organization in Timika and Manokwari were also prosecuted and imprisoned because of this case. It happened in 2019, the uprising. It was concluded, but now in 2021, the case has been reignited again. Lanjut, kawan.
Oke, ya. Kasus itu diangkat kembali. Kami pikir masalah sudah selesai, namun itu terjadi lagi. Sehingga hari ini Viktor bisa dapat tangkap, kemudian Indonesia, negara Indonesia, pemerintah Indonesia ini juga memberikan label teroris terhadap TPNPB. Itu juga bagian yang kami menolak otsus dan menjalankan petisi. Tapi hari ini dia di organisasi sebagai juru bicara internasional Komite Nasional Papua Barat. Terus untuk kawan kami yang di Maibrat, Adam Sori, tadi saya sendiri sudah berhubungan langsung dengan pengacara yang menangani kasus Adam Sori, bahwa kasusnya itu sebenarnya dia ini hanya tidak tahu tentang persoalan pembunuhan itu, cuma dia ini hanya sebagai celah untuk bagaimana menjerat dia supaya jangan gerakan organisasi dari Komite Nasional Papua Barat di Kabupaten Maibrat itu eksis seperti itu. Jadi dari pengacara sendiri sampaikan bahwa di dalam persidangan itu tidak terbukti, namun dari saksi-saksinya itu yang justru memberatkan kawan Adam Sori, sehingga kemarin dia sudah oke, silakan. Ya, silakan, Vero.
Yeah, so this case was reignited again while it had been concluded, but yeah. So Indonesia also labeled the West Papua National Liberation Army as terrorists. We also reject this. Viktor Yemo is also our international spokesperson of the KNPB. Besides Viktor Yemo, in Maibrat, there's also another political prisoner of KNPB. It's Adam Sori, the head of KNPB in my Brat area. That according to his lawyer, that I have checked with his lawyer before I'm speaking today, that Adam Sori was not involved in the killing case, but he was criminalized about this case in order to he was imprisoned so that KNPB cannot exist in my Brat area. Lanjut kawan.
Oke, jadi kasus itu kemarin sudah dilanjutkan, kemudian putusan hakim itu sudah 6 tahun, kemudian naik banding menjadi turun 4 tahun, jadi sampai hari ini menjalankan persidangan. Kemudian untuk kenapa kami tolak otsus, ini untuk tolak otsus sendiri ini kami orang Papua sejak awal di dalam sejarah perjuangan bangsa Papua, sejak awal itu orang Papua sendiri sudah jelas sudah mengetahui identitas bangsanya, mengetahui identitas bangsa sebagai bangsa Papua dan punya identitas tersendiri, tidak sama dengan Indonesia. Sehingga itu yang menjadi perjuangan bangsa Papua sampai dengan saat ini. Kemudian otsus ini karena bagian dari orang Papua ini menolak, tidak mau lagi untuk menerima otsus, kita menolak dan menyuarakan suara merdeka, sehingga otsus ini bagian dari pemaksaan dari pemerintah Indonesia untuk bagaimana eksistensi dari pemerintah Indonesia itu bisa tetap ada di Indonesia, kemudian bagaimana eksploitasi sumber daya alam, bagaimana rasisme itu bisa terjadi terus di tanah Papua dengan menekan, membunuh dan lain-lain, kemudian genosida itu pun terjadi di Papua. Oke, lanjut, Vero.
Adam Sori was 6 years, and then he appealed. Then he was sentenced to 4 years, and so he is now in imprisonment to do consent. We Papuan people reject the special autonomy because since the beginning of the history, West Papuan people know that our identity of the nation, we have our own identity as a nation, is different to Indonesia. And we also reject special autonomy because we do not accept the special autonomy because we want to be independent. The special autonomy is only how Indonesia, Papua to be still inside in Indonesian, under Indonesian rule by forcing the special autonomy, and the human rights violations and including genocide is taking place. Lanjut.
Oke, jadi identitas orang Papua itu yang sampai dengan hari ini kami merasa bahwa otsus bukan merupakan aspirasi dari rakyat Papua. Ini hanya kehendak atau kehendak penguasa untuk memaksakan untuk bagaimana menguasai dan mempertahankan kekuasaan di atas tanah Papua itu dengan menjalankan otsus dianggap sebagai solusi untuk tanah Papua. Namun orang Papua melihat otsus itu bukan solusi. Solusinya sudah pasti, yaitu bagaimana hak penentuan nasib sendiri untuk bangsa Papua itu harus terlaksana. Karena kembali ke identitas bangsa itu sudah jelas kami melihat ke sejarah itu. Sehingga kami tidak bisa melihat otsus ini sebagai solusi. Mungkin solusi untuk pemerintah Indonesia, tapi untuk orang Papua bukan solusi. Justru otsus ini untuk memperpanjang penindasan, rasisme, genosida dan lain-lain, eksploitasi sumber daya alam yang lain-lain. Ya, mungkin begitu, Vero.
Ya, So spatial autonomy is not the aspiration of Papuan people. It is the will of the oppressor to keep West Papua under Indonesian rule. The solution is, of course, the right to self-determination fulfillment for the West Papuan people. And again, our identity as a nation, that's why we cannot see that spatial autonomy is a solution for us. The spatial autonomy is a solution, but for in the eyes of Indonesia, but not a solution in our eyes. And spatial autonomy has created a human rights violation, genocide, and exploitation of our natural resources. Sudah. Ada lagi?
Oke, ya itu saja, Bro.
Oke, that's it.
Sudah.
Yeah.
Oke.
Thank you. And I also want to add that Alexander Nekenem himself is a ex-political prisoner. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alexander. We now move to Surya Anta from the Indonesian People's Front for West Papua. Surya, silahkan. You have 3 minutes, yeah?
Yes, thank you, Pelagio. Hello, I'm Surya Anta. I'm spokesperson of Indonesia People Front for West Papua, and also former of the political prisoner from Indonesia Solidarity. Indonesia People Front for West Papua also supporters of the People Petitions, PRP, Petisi Rakyat Papua. So why we agree to the PRP demanding to reject the spatial autonomy expanding? Because the idea of spatial autonomy is the idea to make two nations become one state. That means that recognized or not by the Indonesian people or the Indonesian government that the colonializations by Indonesian government to West Papuan people exists actually until now. That is still the material proof that the colonialization is ongoing since 1963 until now. So even though it called spatial, but actually it's not really spatial. What we can see in West Papua, there are more military and police mobilization to West Papua and getting rise because the last time recently the minister said that the Liberation Army is terrorists, and it make more people angry, more Papuan people angry that it's not only the Liberation Army conclude as terrorists, but actually the discrimination to the West Papuan people called terrorists. It's also happened in Java, and also we can see 2 years ago when Papuan people called monkey, it's not new thing. Every discriminations in above the Papuan land or in Java land to the West Papuan people, everyday life they receive it. So there is no really special on autonomy when they cannot live like everyone else in Indonesia, to have more democratic space, to have more better life, to have more educations, to have more equality, but actually they receive inequality, they receive fear, they receive pressure, they receive operations, and they receive unequal prosperity, because what they get their natural resources were exploited by the international corporations such as Freeport, British Petroleum and other country, Korea or Japan, who take it for industrial benefit, but they cannot live they cannot take their job. They cannot fulfill their everyday life. So everything, it's not really is unequal for them. So for West Papuan peoples, it's no meaning for becoming Indonesians, because they realize they are different nations. So the idea of the special autonomy actually it's trying to blockade the idea to liberate West Papuan people, the idea of freedom. So this is just a piece of cake, just a candy, just a cake, just a sweet cake for the Papuan people to not fight for their liberation, their freedom. So we as an Indonesian activist,
one more minute, yeah.
We as Indonesian activists realize that there will be no Indonesia with expanding democracy. When we see that West Papuan people live under operations, under military repress, under fear, under mobilizations of the military and the police. When we can see that Viktor Yeimo and others caught and imprisoned, and they cannot speak freely, we cannot live at this in that situation. That's why we Indonesian people from West Papua supporting the West Papuan people struggle, and we are also supporting Viktor Yeimo. We hope that Viktor Yeimo will get his freedom. And also, last thing I want to say, happy birthday, Viktor Yemo. I hope you can free, not in the long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Surya. Next, we will move on to Christine Holike. I'm sorry to pronounce your name wrong. From Watch Indonesia. Christine, you have 5 minutes.
Well, thanks a lot, TAPOL and PRP for inviting us to this event, for this opportunity to meet you all and to participate in this important exchange. Previous speakers have already described why and how the central government's handling of the special amounts to a breach of its original promise, the promise to enhance the economic and political rights of indigenous West Papuans. The political dynamics, as we heard, are manifold and, to my mind, intricately interwoven with the general current political development we can observe in Indonesia. Throughout the country, we observe a growing and accelerating trend to re-centralize economic and political power and to put profit over human rights and the welfare of people and nature. And that oftentimes leads to the deprivation of the local populations to exercise their civil and political rights, to participate in decision-making, and under the promise of development, robbing or trying to rob them of their livelihoods. The patterns are very similar to the ones in West Papua, including that security forces play a crucial role in exploitation and profiting from natural resources. So in West Papua, however, and I mean, we've been speaking about it, we know it, the legitimate demands for sovereignty are placed under the suspicion of separatism and by way of treating them as a threat to national security criminalized. So, but what I mean by sovereignty here is the sovereignty to exercise citizens' rights, such as the right to have a say in any political decision, including decisions that affect lives and livelihoods, and also the right to be protected from ethnic cleansing and human rights violations. what in this context also greatly concerns us are two things. Firstly, and it's been mentioned and it has to be stressed over and over again, the crucial role or the pivotal role of the security forces, and that they act with hardly any checks and balances. And secondly, that the supposed or propagated developmental success of the special autonomy law is used or frequently used to deflect from serious grievances regarding the right to political participation, rule of law, and grievous human rights violations in West Papua. So, like on an international level, so not at least the Article 25 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which Indonesia signed in 2006 already, obliges the Indonesian government to guarantee the right of the citizens to participate in decision-making, including policies. For sure, this must and should encompass the shaping, implementation, and execution, and also the rejection of the special autonomy law. So we share this perspective that the criminalization and marginalization of these legitimate demands of indigenous West Papuans to exercise their democratic citizenship rights must end, and that indigenous West Papuans must be acknowledged as full citizens in decision-making processes and granted the right to act as sovereign, as democratic sovereign. So really we are in this sense in support of your demands towards the Indonesian government regarding the special autonomy law. I would like to add this sort of aspect from the German side, because we're based in Germany, in Berlin. So we frequently astounded, shocked, whatever, about how reluctant the German government, which never tires to stress its commitment to democracy and human rights, especially on an international stage, how reluctant they are to call Indonesia out on that, especially on human rights violations. This is of particular concern to us, as Indonesia is one of, and maybe you know this, one of Germany's most important trade partners and the most important partner in development cooperation. Germany and the European Union pursue economic and geostrategic interests in the Asia-Pacific region, and with Indonesia in particular. Germany and Indonesia are sort of celebrated as partners, best buddies, whatever. So business ties and investment corporations are sought to be expanded, and national resources like nickel, which are in abundance in West Papua, as you know, are highly sought after. So really maybe it shouldn't surprise us so much that after all that the German government is so quiet on human and citizens' rights in Indonesia generally, and really close to mute when it comes to those of indigenous people in West Papua. So we hope for the future, and from now that we, yes, I'm coming to the closing. But so really like talking from that background and where we are involved, we hope that we can work together to raise awareness and to increase the willingness of German parliamentarians, European Union parliamentarians, and government officials to take stronger action to end impunity and to strengthen the voice and democratic rights of the indigenous of West Papua. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Christine, for providing the perspective from Watch Indonesia. Next, we will hear from Josef Benedict from CIVICUS. Joseph, you have 5 minutes.
Thanks. Good morning and evening, everyone. And thank you again to the organizers for this invite to speak at this event on West Papua. CIVICUS, which I represent, is a global civil society alliance of over 10,000 civil society groups and activists in 175 countries around the world. We work to defend and to promote civic freedoms. We in CIVICUS have been following very closely the developments in West Papua for many years, and this renewed military operation seems to be a repeat of ongoing repression against civic space and activists. In recent years, dozens of political prisoners have been detained for treason and other charges just for raising a pro-independence flag, being involved in a petition for independence, or participating in a peaceful protest. journalists have been targeted for their reporting on Papua. And the internet shutdown in 2019, which we now know is illegal, is happening again, which greatly impedes the work of journalists to do their work. Also, we know the restrictions on foreign journalists to the region limits coverage of the abuses happening in Papua. CIVICUS is also extremely concerned about the systematic crackdown on the right to protest, with cases of arbitrary arrest, detention, not just in Papua, but in other parts of the country. We have documented how human rights defenders and activists who speak up on human rights violation in Papua have faced surveillance, digital attacks, and threats, and some have to forced to leave the country. We are also concerned about the reports of ongoing online disinformation campaigns by pro-government actors since 2020. Credible media outlets have reported a network of fake news sites spreading disinformation facilitated and funded by the Indonesian military, as well as bots, which have also been used to attack critics. We have also seen the Indonesian authorities try to silence discussions, debates, and activism on Papua at the United Nations, in the Pacific, and in many other countries. All these highlights a pattern of shrinking civic space and freedoms in Indonesia. We are extremely concerned about the detention of Viktor Yemo, which is another attempt to silence the voice of Papuans by targeting another pro-independence leader. He has been the international spokesperson for the West Papua National Committee and a vocal critique about human rights violations perpetrated by the Indonesian security forces in Papua. He has also spoken at the Human Rights Council in 2019. CIVICUS believe he is facing trumped-up charges of treason, broadcasting false information, disrespecting the national flag, and so forth, for his involvement in peaceful protests in the province. We also hear that the police are digging up new charges against him, and we are extremely concerned he may face torture and ill treatment while in detention. We believe that Viktor Yemo's arbitrary arrest and detention appears to be simple retaliation for speaking up about abuses and for his political activism. Unless the authorities produce credible evidence against him, the charges against him must be dropped and he must be released. Now, this proposal to extend special autonomy in Papua is just the latest in a series of failed efforts by the Jakarta government to try and appease Papuans and show the international community they are doing something about the situation. Since 2001, when the law was passed, we have heard so-called efforts to accelerate development and improve the life of Papuan people. However, Papua continues to be one of the most poorest regions in Indonesia. We know of land grabs happening across the region. Special autonomy has also failed to deliver justice for Papuans, as provided for in the law, including the Human Rights Ad Hoc Court and the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation. Special autonomy has also failed to address the conflict. Without justice and human rights, any further development through special autonomy is a total waste of time and will not address the situation in Papua today. We reiterate our calls for all political prisoners detained for their activism, especially Viktor Yemo, to be released, and the security forces should stop their harassment of defenders, activists, and students in Papua. These actions are unbecoming of a member of the UN Human Rights Council. We believe the Papuans have a democratic right to reject the extension of special autonomy and for the central government to respect this. The government instead should put their energy into resolving serious crimes committed by the Indonesian security forces, make their findings public, and ensure reparation for victims. This includes the cases in Wasio, Wamena, and Panyai. And access to Papua must be open to the United Nations, international NGOs, and journalists. And finally, we need meaningful consultation with the Papuan people to address their grievances, deal with the injustices they have faced, and seek an end to the conflict in Papua. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Joseph. Next, we will hear from Usman Hamid from the Amnesty International Indonesia. Usman, you have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Pelagio. Thank you so much, TAPOL. So on behalf of Amnesty International Indonesia, I would like to draw your attention again to the arrest of Viktor Yemo. He was arrested for calling for an independence referendum for Papua and also for his rejection to Indonesia's special autonomy policy, which he expressed in 2019 during the anti-racism protests in Papua and West Papua province. And this is not the first time the state has been using the repressive law to imprison Viktor Yemo. For example, in 2010, he was sentenced because of his peaceful expression calling for independence for Papua and questioning special autonomy. the punishment of expression create the sense of taboo amongst the general public because any expressor was sentenced for the offense of treason. And we are calling on Indonesian authorities to drop politically motivated treason charges against Viktor Yemo. Not only Viktor Yemo, at least there are dozens of KNPB activists, his organizations, were sentenced for their commentary, for their peaceful protests in the past, or for their expression that constitute or deemed to constitute ideological offense to the government of Jakarta. And now, since May 9th, he was charged under various laws of at least 11 charges, including the articles of treason, subversion, and rebellion. And the arrest procedure was not in accordance with the arrest procedures of law and also with the universal standard of human rights. And he's now under detention, a very special treatment of detention, quote unquote, a very strict and heavy security arrangements. I knew Viktor Yemo back in several years ago. He was born in 1983. Fluent in English, he's a very techno-savvy student activist who led KNPB. He has been very familiar with the internet since he was in junior high school. At the college, he started using the internet as a source of information for politics, and he has been using the internet effectively in mobilizing peaceful protests, through his student political organization in order to address the root causes of Papuan issues, the root causes of injustice, the root causes of exploitation of natural resources, including why special autonomy law has failed. Josef has mentioned earlier about the establishment of Human Rights Courts, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and Human Rights Commission in Papua, which has never existed. And I think it is important to highlight that Viktor Yemo's organization is a non-violence organization. The organization has been using non-violence means. And in the internet era, he and his friends have been using the internet in a way that has contributed to the quality of Indonesian democracy. However, the way Indonesian government treated, or the way Indonesian government imposing internet shutdown in Papua just like 2 years ago, is something that has undermined democratic rights, democratic freedom of Papua. So coming back to his arrest, I think his arrest was treated as if that he was responsible for the riots in 2019, where Papuans held protests in at least 30 cities across Indonesia in response to a racist attacks against Papuans at a student dormitory in East Java, provincial capital of Surabaya. The video shows soldiers shouting words such as monkey, pigs, and so on at the students of Papua. The police also fired tear gas into the dormitory and arrested scores of students. Up to today, not a single security personnel implicated in the racist slurs had been taken into civilian court of law. Only one person was taken into military court 14th of May, just a week ago. And the Indonesian authorities has been failing in separating peaceful expression and violent expression when it comes to deal with the pro-independence calls or with the special autonomy law rejection. Lastly, I want to make a point of what happened now in Papua. Well, it's actually Papua's 11th in room. So since Indonesia began democratic reforms in 98, it's 23 years now, the government of Indonesia have pledged to deliver justice, deliver prosperity in Papua, including to end human rights violation by security forces. However, Amnesty International, for example, have continued to receive allegations of unlawful killings by security forces in the provinces of Papua and West Papua, and these killings occur mainly in the context of unnecessary use of force during mass protests, during law enforcement operation, or due to misconduct by individual officials. In our last report, I think Josef was part of the report as well, in 2018, Amnesty International Indonesia have shown that between 2010 and 2018, we have highlighted of at least 69 cases of unlawful killings, and how investigation for the cases are rare, and it is even rarer that anyone is held accountable in the court of law, let alone civilian court of law. And from February 2018 to 2020, last year, there were at least 47 cases of suspected unlawful killings and extrajudicial killing by security forces with 80 victims. That includes the shooting of Pendeta of Christian priest Pendeta Yeremy's in Tanjaya. And this year alone, for the last 3 months or 4 months, there have been at least 6 cases of alleged unlawful killings by security forces, with a total of 6 victims. And of those 53 cases from last year to this year, not one has resulted in a conviction in civilian or even in military court. So in fact, only 4 of them have been processed legally at all. And 3 cases involving military personnel are currently being investigated by military prosecutors, which is in a way that is not transparent according to the universal standard of human rights. What happened now is actually, you know, if insanity, as the saying goes, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The last statement by the government, they want to crush the separatists within a month. They want to solve the Papuan issues within a month. It's just impossible. Ce n'est pas possible. You know, expecting different results than the government approach is just a textbook example. Desire for self-determination, anger at racial abuse, anger at special autonomy law, dissatisfaction with special autonomy, no matter how specific of the problem, racism, marginalization, the only solution Jakarta seems to be able to come up with is send more troops. And the most recent escalation of the conflict today, which culminated in the death of Papua Regional Intelligence Chief Brigadier General Gusti Putu Dani Nugraha in a shootout with an armed group affiliated with the Free Papua movement, has only caused the government to dig in further. Instead of reflecting on why repeated crackdowns have done little to end the violence, Jakarta has doubled down on its security approach by designating armed groups like KNPB in Papua or OPM as a terrorist organization. In our view, terrorist designation shows government failure to address root causes of Papua problems, failure of special autonomy law, failure to deliver justice and accountability for past human rights abuses and for any violations of human rights law in Indonesia and in Papua. And it just shows its lack of willingness to engage with the real roots of the ongoing conflict in Papua and West Papua. Labeling OPM in Papua as a terrorist organization does nothing to help the Papuan people. If anything, it only increases the potential for even further human rights violation. And finally, let me reiterate our call that we are calling President Indonesia, Joko Widodo, to remember what had been promised by him to Papuan and to international community. He promised to release all political prisoners. He promised to open Papua to the world, including to international observers, journalists, and even the United Nations. So President Jokowi, in our view, has a chance to follow what has been promised, to follow what has been done by the previous presidency of Habibie and Wahid, wherein open democratic space was availed. The state released political prisoners advocating for the secession of even East Timor, Aceh, and West Papua. And the opening of dialogue allowed the separatist movement or any pro-independence movement to present a non-violent political activism, to express the demand to secede from Indonesia or to provide solution for the ongoing conflict, or and the other way around, the closures of civic space in Papua would only allow the situation to get worse. So again, we call on Indonesia to free Viktor Yemo, to drop all the charges, and to free all political prisoners, especially prisoners of conscience, including Papuan and Malukan pro-independence peaceful activists. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Pak Usman. The last bit is we will play a video message from former political prisoners, Filep Karma. Filep Karma has actually been trying to send his video in. He wanted to be here today with us, but because of internet challenges, it took him about 24 hours to send this video through. I would like to pass it to our technical team to make the video available. Hopefully the audio is better this time. My apologies, guys. I don't know about if you could hear, but I couldn't hear the audio message. But we will make are we trying again?
Senior-senior kita adalah Mahatma Gandhi, Insinyur Soekarno, Dr. Andes Muhammad Hatta, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, Sanana Gusmao, Aung San Suu Kyi, dan Nelson Mandela. Jadi saudaraku Viktor Yeimo, jangan kecil hati. Saudara harus kuat, tegar. Hai saudaraku Viktor Yeimo, pejuangku, Shalom, Raja Yesus memberkatimu. Saya sebagai eks-tahanan politik OPM mengucapkan selamat bergabung dalam tokoh elit dunia pejuang kemerdekaan bangsa. Karena tidak semua orang bisa demikian. Senior-senior kita adalah Mahatma Gandhi, Insinyur Soekarno, Dr. Andes Muhammad Hatta, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, Sanana Gusmao, Aung San Suu Kyi, dan Nelson Mandela. Jadi saudaraku Viktor Yeimo, jangan kecil hati. Saudara harus kuat, tegar, dan tahan uji. Jangan pernah menyerah. Bersandar saja pada Raja Yesus. Jangan bersedih. Saudara sekarang menjadi pokok doa dari setiap orang asli Papua, maupun di komunitas-komunitas orang asli Papua, juga di gereja-gereja, di masjid-masjid orang Papua, maupun di masyarakat Pasifik dan masyarakat Indonesia yang juga memperjuangkan nilai-nilai kemanusiaan, keadilan, dan kejujuran. Begitupun di tingkat internasional. Anda ditangkap secara tidak sesuai aturan hukum dan didakwa dengan alasan yang dicari-cari. Kebenaran bisa dibengkokkan, tetapi tidak bisa dikalahkan. Bravo saudaraku. Selamat ulang tahun saudaraku Viktor Yeimo di Istana Perjuangan Kemerdekaan Bangsa. Shalom.
Well, I think this concludes, this strong message concludes our meeting today. I don't know about you, I was reading his text earlier and I almost cried, but it was too close for me. Anyhow, I hope this for me personally and for TAPOL, this has been a strong joint statement on calling for the cancellation of the special autonomy status and the release of Viktor Yemo. I hope our audience who are here with us or who will be watching this video will find it very helpful as well, the presentations that we provided today in the understanding of the situation from the perspective of the grassroots movements and the human rights organizations. While this is the last, this is the end of our event today, this is not the end of our conversation. We will continue our conversations behind the scene as usual. Just maybe to play us out, I would like to play again a video, the message, not the message, I'm sorry, the video about Viktor Yemo, if that is possible, because I feel that's very strong as well. But otherwise, I would like to thank all the speakers who are here. I know that some of you risked your lives to be on the panel today. And thank you very much for lending your valuable time to contribute to this event. Thanks.